Hello people, and welcome back to part 28 of Ilos, our modded Cities Skylines build. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thanks so much indeed for all support across the live stream where we carried on detailing our little waterfront build here. And we have trams in now, also has some in-city buses too. And this waterfront's really come to life, hasn't it? It's really nice, and you will notice that we have fixed these slow simulation issues. And you probably noticed a couple of other things as well, that our car parks are now very empty. So I fixed the slow sim issues thanks to our wonderful community. Special shout out to Lance and Eggsy for their help in sort of diagnosing this problem. We have lost the speed slider mod and ultimate eye candy since those were outdated and apparently causing performance issues, and have been replaced with play it, so we can control our time of days and whatnot, exactly like we used to with ultimate eye candy. And we have also loaded in with the loading screen mod, safe options ticked, including to remove all vehicle and citizen agents, and then also try to recover from simulation errors, alongside a full traffic clear using Traffic Manager to kind of reset the simulation paths. And then also in TMPE, we have lost the enable more realistic parking, since having that on after a while, it does slow the sim down again. And unfortunately, it means that our car parks are going to be a little bit emptier around the city now, but it's a trade-off that I'm willing to make in order for this high game speed to come back again. And if anything, Ilos has actually gained frames since we've done this. So it's back now, we're fine, everyone's happy. So Ilos lives for another day. And again, an enormous shout out to Lance and Eggsy for their help fixing that issue. However, in today's episode, I want to start working for the first time on the west side of the downtown. And already in Ilos, surprisingly, we have a education requirement for university, which is very nice. So of course we actually have 3 university areas, the Tucson University in the Margrid. We also have the Governor's Office, which, whilst not a university, is actually satisfying university demand. And now we have one more left to do, which is the Trade School campus, which I always call the University of Technology for some random reason. So we're going to build this out onto the west side. We're going to bring in some nice new public transport, some new sort of car park designs and nice sort of campus malls, if you like. Should be quite a nice one today, and a nice sort of important build to sit on the west side of the skyline. And of course it should hold a fantastic view up to downtown as well during the cinematics today, which you guys would have already seen in the opening clip today anyway, so I hope it's nice. But either way, let's build the Ilos University of Technology, shall we? So before we start placing the buildings, of course, let's analyse the sort of initial road frame layout as to exactly what's going to happen here. So we do have metro in the area, which I'm very keen to sort of keep in the city. So let's go for a nice 8-unit curve. Okay, and then we're going to let this run parallel with the road, and we'll have a station further down here at some point. Okay, but that's going to give us a nice little sort of public transport integration right off the bat. So now I'm going to come into my 2-unit roads. We're going to grab the 2S 1-lane 2-way with the yellow marker in it. And I want to find the measurement of 50 units back to this space here again. Kind of coming back into the whole thing of keeping in equal measurements. This is going to allow us to create some larger sort of arterial grid frames that are going to be quite nice. Okay, so that's 50 units from that one right there. Then I'm going to grab this same sort of big arterial system here. Then I want to find another 50 units up from that, and that should take us to about there it looks, right? Is that 50 units? Yes, there we go. And then we'll link this one through. Feed it into here, and then all of these existing frames can be trimmed off, of course, as the city grows out to the west. Alright, wonderful. So we'll be playing with sort of these 3 to 4 spaces today. Okay, we'll see how much room we can fill, but this should be quite an expansive build. So let's go ahead and get our campus area painted out over the area that we want it. So we're going to name this after one of our wonderful Patreon subscribers, Jennifer Cox, who of course is one of Ilos' biggest fans. So thank you so much for all your support, Jennifer. I really appreciate everything that you do for the channel and the community. You are a very much welcome part of our little community here. So I'm going to throw in the main building. All right, this is going to be fine. But I don't really want this to be the first thing that we place, because it's kind of not really in the theme of what I want to happen today. We're going to find somewhere else for that. But what I would like to happen is to introduce sort of a nice, almost like rotunda style building in this little space here. And I want to see if we can do something quite fun with the parking lot roads. So let's go into a service road, alright? And we're going to grab no road guideline is what we want. And we're going to grab a curve road tool. And then let's come in for here. And then I'm looking for nice big 10 curves here, right? Now this is going to look a little bit strange before it starts to look somewhat good, I guess. So big 10 curves here. Make sure we match up with that one. There we go. Okay. So let's come back into the world of campus now, and I want to place in the School of Tourism and Travel. Of course, we're going to need a little bit of anarchy for this to work. Now we can already see that we want to bob off those awful vanilla alder trees, so we'll get rid of those as well. Let's go for 0, and then probably bushes as well, I think. And then we'll take them off of this building as well. Should totally clear any foliage. Yes, please. Wonderful. So let's find an orientation for this. Indeed, super important looking building, isn't it? And I can already see a perfect spot, again, where we can have a nice time with our campus buildings by bringing in a little road that's going to cut through. Okay, that's going to add a little bit more importance to the school. Okay, so now what I think I want to do is grab the entire sort of configuration here, and then let's find an appropriate positioning for this that we're happy with. Okay, I think probably up to about here should be good, alright? So that's going to sit really nicely sort of this on this main road. We're going to get some housing opposite here as well today. Some nice palm and tree detailing too. And I also think that I would like to have this area fully grassed up. So indeed, the grass people can rejoice. This is another grassy episode. We'll fill all this in. At least for right now, we'll probably trim back a little bit of desert later on during the detailing time-lapse, of course. But either way, let's come into our car parking actual roads themselves. So now that we have that in, I'd like to start connecting in the sort of parking lot configuration here into the rest of the road network frame. You'll also lose this one now, as we know that the connection here is the marker of 50 units, so we can memorize that, that's no problem. And then also, I'd like to come up from this point here, and then probably feed a connection back into the main road there. So now let's come into our larger 58 meter lots, alright? And I want to see if we can find a nice little happy medium here. Let's go for 262 in cost, that's going to be fine. And then we can snap to this road guideline here, and then get a perfectly curved car parking. There we go. So we'll do a 16 unit curve instead. That's going to be fine. Then we're going to drop down into a 40 meter lot, alright? And I want to see if we can find, yet again, another sort of happy space where we can bring in a car park here. Okay, now this should give us some quite nice different car parking configurations, I think, here. Also have one come off on the side. And what this will do is just surround the School of Tourism and Travel with lots of car parking, almost like a little rotunda sort of style, okay? Got some dead ends, so not everything's perfectly mirrored. And I think, for the most part, I'm going to be happy with that, okay? Of course, we'll place our car parking spaces come the end, rather than doing that on camera, because it takes ages, especially on a curved road as well. Does take a while. Right? But as an initial start, I think that I'm happy with that. Okay? So, I also have another vision for this university. Let's come into university pathways. We're going to grab ourselves the trade school paths. And then I want a grid snap mainly here, okay? And I'd like to line this up, if at all possible, with sort of the central spine of the campus. So let's go for a measurement right up here. We're going to have that connected in. I would then like to save 4 units between the pathway. I'm going to do some nice sort of centralized path action here as well. Should be quite an interesting campus, this one. I want to do the same again now, but on another axis. I'm going to bring up some pathways with a 4 tile gap in between them. And this is going to run right up towards the top. Alright, and I already know that one of the assets here, especially the book club, is going to sit near perfect within one of these little frames, if not a little bit of bob required just to remove, again, just some of those more awkward bushes that are encroaching upon the pathway. Bob will certainly get rid of those. And then we can do a little bit of our own palm detailing around here later on as well. And I think now we can see a spot where we actually might want to accommodate the main campus building itself, right? Let's see if we can bring this one out here just a little bit further. And now I'm thinking that the main building should allow itself to settle in at the sort of central point of this little campus mall that is starting to develop. If we take a look at this sort of design here, alright, I think we can respect that, can't we? That's certainly going to be a nice theme for the main sort of central campus district to hold. And then we can sort of transition away from this now with other buildings around it as we leave the campus in subsequent builds, of course. So let's start piecing together some main assets for this sort of central space here. I think I'm certainly feeling the laboratories, right? Always a favourite from this campus. Now let's see if we can finagle this into position. on a slight angle, right, without letting the concrete bleed over the path boundary and still maintaining its connection, of course. I think I'm going to be happy with that. Come and grab something else now, perhaps like a media lab. This one will work really nicely on the corner of the car park here, just because it's such a nice corner unit. And then, of course, little nuances of surface paints that can be brought in the spaces in between just to flesh out the pattern. And of course, because we're on the northeast-southwest divide with the Margaret, this is nice and easily surface paintable. Again, some prop detailing now available within these sort of road network spaces. So I'm going to be happy with that. Right? Very nice. Let's grab something else now, perhaps a bookstore, right? And I think this will actually work quite nicely finagled into the side of the labs if we can sort of line them up. Yeah, that's a nice little alleyway between there now, isn't it? And it almost looks like it's part of this building here with the way that it connects together. And again, more surface painter in these spaces just allow us to bring in some more concrete into the area. Alright. Alright, not looking too bad, is it? It's going to really complement the main sort of central mall design here. So of course, we've got two more unique campus buildings to use. And these are the Police Academy and the School of Engineering, which are very important buildings indeed. Now, we're still factoring in the skyline crawl here, okay? So I'm happy with this orientation because the lower side of the Police Academy is on, the right-hand side here. So it's going to continually add to the grand crawling height that now appears in sort of the west side of Ilos, okay? So I'm going to be enjoying that, I think. However, I would like to also bob this as well. There is a lot of bobbing today. Let's remove all orders from the building. Again, you can find them by moving between the different sub-buildings if you're sort of not appearing for some reason. If you're wondering how to use Bob sort of to its most maximum potential, Candy does have a mod tutorial on her channel for Bob, so I'll leave that link below. Alright, and let's have a little bit of positioning here. So of course, the campus building isn't actually connected, but because it is a campus building, we can connect it with a pathway, which is just wonderful news. So we'll have that in there. And then I very much want this to sit against sort of the main arterial now, right? Very important building. This one's got lots of traffic and metro coming past here as well. It's going to look quite swanky indeed, isn't it? So I think I'm going to be pretty much on board with that idea. Let's trim back a little bit of this metro line now. And I think we'll go for a vanilla metro station here. I'm a big fan of the sort of ones that came with the Sunset Harbour patch. Just want to move it onto the same axis that the line is currently occupied at. That should be okay. Let's come ahead and hook it in, and then we can get some metros flowing through here as well today. Like it's ever so slightly off on that angle, doesn't it? Let's just bring it back in, and then we'll find sort of a cute little road. Just a little sort of one unit one should be fine. We'll go for one with trees as well. It'll allow us to bring some palm patterns in. Right, yes, and then we'll have it sat pretty much here, I imagine. This should be okay. And then we'll just come into a grid snap. We've also got the elevated metro over there as well, which again, alongside the rail, is going to be giving us significant amounts more of public transport infrastructure and spice layering starting to happen over this side of the city now. It's not too bad so far, is it? We're starting to see sort of a main central campus design appear, and of course we can replace the trees with Bob to actually turn them into palms, but I would rather have prop anarchy on here and place my own trees in, so we'll worry about that. During our detailing time lapses, the Shaky Snake County Fair hits level 4. Fantastic. Oh, the ghosts are here as well. Fantastic. For some reason, the first-person camera mod doesn't allow you to actually take the first-person perspective of the ghosts, which is, I guess, logical, right? A ghost, after all. So, let's carry on painting out our campus design. Because what I would like to have in this campus is a good chunk of the building itself actually sat on the road rather than sort of within the campus space. Indeed, to help decorate the area as well. Because we're very much looking at sort of the Arizona State University in Southeast Phoenix for this. Although not so much so that it is kind of a direct recreation. Okay, let's do a bit of forest brushing, get rid of the trees that are going to mess with us. So this is something I find really useful. And the orientation of campus buildings can be really big. So this one's okay, right? It's got a nice bit of frontage on it, but I would much rather have the track and field aesthetic or the decals of this building against the main road. So that is what we're going to do. So I hope you all agree. That does make a little bit of a difference, doesn't it? You know, just exposing the stadium side of the asset to the road. And of course, you don't actually have to move it to do this. You can just sort of place it in, find your exact configurations, and then bring in a road on the opposite side on an angle and a road length, just to register the connection. and then you can just spin it around on that side as well. So certainly worth considering the orientation of your main varsity sports buildings. They can make a big difference to the way the build looks, especially something like the track and field like this. Alright, wonderful. So I'm going to trim off a couple of these little frames here, because I would like to accommodate the last University of Technology building here, which is the School of Engineering. So this one is a real big boy, right? And usually I would make a bit more of a song and dance out of this. I'd be happy to have this building actually be in the downtown itself as part of the skyline. But there's something about the combination of the big glass front that it has with the track and field outside and the palms that is really quite singing to me for this build. So I think we're going to leave it as a main road asset, and it still works here. It definitely still works. We can even possibly squeeze through a campus pathway through that little tunnel there, right? I think that's going to be quite a nice time, isn't it? So why don't we see what we can do with that. Let's bring in some pathways to kind of box it in and indeed provide ways in and out of the campus. This can come down and behind now, and then this can connect in. Now, it would be really cool if we could do some node controller work here. So I'm going to come off of the angle snap, or off all snapping really. I'm going to bring this underneath the school, and then back out the other side. It probably will want a little bit of node finagling just to line it up how we want it to look. Okay, but because this is in the same node now, let's do a little bit of node controller. I'm going to square everyone off. I would like to offset the red a little bit. And then I would also like to shift the blue so it becomes level with the rest of the node. A little bit more offset in here and there. Let's maybe bring orange back in a little bit. There we go. That's what I'm after. So it's all in the same node. It's now just a stretched out path node. Again, we've sort of done path stretching before with node controller. It should be quite a fun one. Okay, we've got a little bit of jank happening here. That should hopefully tie itself up as we come back in. Yes, it will. So again, we'll come back onto road length and angle snap, and let's provide another connection in and around for the campus here. That should be connected. That's just the surface painter that's messing with that. We can tidy that up. Alright. Wonderful. So let's carry on piecing together, indeed, some more campus assets that would work well within this space. So we could get another media lab in. These ones are really nice corner assets, but we'll see what else we can use over here instead. So the study hall, right, this is the classic. Students with spare time can use the study hall to do their homework, projects, or prepare to exams. Of course, it's the classic, isn't it? Oh, absolutely love that description. Throw back to Palavan, everyone, right? Feels like a long time ago that now, doesn't it? Alright, let's bring this up with a touch and move it. And again, respecting the front, or what actually, the front of the building is actually here, but it's not, right? This is the front. So we'll definitely have this sat against the main road. And again, just considering the orientations and the placements now, you can see a really nice sort of important main street beginning to develop along this big 6-lane road. Let's find a corner asset that would complement this quite nicely now. And I think the trade school library. I always want to call it the University of Technology, and I have no idea why. I don't know where that is coming from. That's going to be a super corner unit, right? I might even just break its angle a little bit, so it's slightly like that. Yeah, that's going to be good, isn't it? Nice little library. Yes, please. And then what we can do over here is start finagling some of the smaller, more sort of student-orientated recreational buildings around, like the IT club. That's going to sit perfectly on that corner. A cafeteria would also work tremendously well over here too. And again, move it can be used to adjust final positionings. A little bit of bob might be needed as well. And of course, we can do some outdoor seating here as well, and perhaps even extend out the surface painter pattern that lies on the back of some of the buildings where it looks like they have a door, and essentially pretend as though it's some kind of mock pathway. Now, I do know that some of the campus buildings actually do work in this fashion, as though it is kind of like a mock back entrance. I will show you an example of this working. If we can find the central park in the one-way system, here we go. So Sims are actually using, so this is the art museum, right? This is the front of the art gallery that you get from hitting a liberal arts level 5 campus. And if you just draw a pathway up to the back of the building, Sims will actually use it to exit it, which is really nice. So we can essentially take that same premise and apply it to some of the buildings in the University of Technology over here. Okay, so we'll paint that out and prepare for it. And indeed what I might do is just bring in a little vanilla walking pathway, and then just draw that up to the back of the campus building. and then just see actually how that behaves. I think we're going to use another path one. So let's go for one of the part pathways. Again, we'll just use move it to grab the nodes if we can find the most awkward sweet spot. There we go. Alright, then drag it up into the middle. So we'll see if this works the same way. It might not, but either way we can still respect the aesthetic of a path coming out the back of one of the main buildings where it has doors on it. I think I'm happy for that to remain here. Lots of ghosts walking around now. That's a good sign, right? You know, the sign of how successful a university is really dictated by the number of ghosts that are on campus, I think. How haunted is the facility. Okay, so let's get some power sync through. I know what assets I want to use for this, actually. I'm going to plop a bunch of the Art Deco low-density commercials here. Now, especially Art Deco house number 4. We're going to place these in, and again, just use a touch of move it to bring them into position. Now, we can also use repaint it, or indeed move it to reset the objects here. So they are all the same colour, but I'm happy with a sort of multicolored street here, if you like. So I'm going to place these all the way along this road, position them with move it, and then we can sort of use this as a power sink. And then also sort of a little bit of, you know, local, on-campus, smarter housing, right? Something quite nice going to be happening here. So let's get these done. I'd like to return to the corner of the track and field stadium. Now we have our Art Deco houses in, and I think we can appreciate the aesthetic, can't we? It's quite nice running with heavily repeated patterns of these sorts of housing. It's appreciated. And we'll do some more nice sort of on-campus living designs here as well in a hot second. However, I do want to talk about the corner roads here. So of course got a big sort of main arterial junction. This probably wants actually just a touch of node controller. Hiding the markings as well. Let's just widen this out just so it just looks a little bit more important. I might even do some lighter intersection marking here as well. Add some sort of nice dash lines into each of the lanes. Nothing overly complicated. But what I do want to do is consider the placement of more campus assets. Things like the media lab. Okay, so ones that we placed in the campus already. But again, you know, it's not a problem to have more than one. And what a wonderful corner unit the media lab is, right? The stairs on it really make a difference. Okay, so I'm happy to have that there. Then let's grab an auditorium. Right, and we're going to need to paint out our campus area a touch further, maybe just over this side. It's going to end up being quite a sprawling campus today. It's going to sort of move across different road networks. Not everything's clustered within the same space. Very much the opposite of what the Tucson University was like, alright? Sort of this stuff over here. This is all very, very central. Oh, hello, traffic. A little bit of a backup from the Mar grid. I'm guessing this is the issue with turning off the advanced parking AI stuff. It's like what? It's like there's a match day, is there? Okay. Yeah, so there's just a little bit of traffic trying to get in, isn't there? Because they won't go and use the car parks as much anymore with advanced parking AI off, which is a little bit unfortunate. But hopefully here, let's see if we can help this along a little bit with some junction restrictions in Traffic Manager. Let's just get everyone to go. You know, you don't have to wait for your AI counterpart to say it's okay. Please just go through. Yeah, it's just people trying to get into the aquatic centre, isn't it? Because there's a match day on. It is backing up slightly into the Mar grid frames, but now what could possibly help here would be a 3-lane asymmetrical road. So let's see if we can upgrade this road here to be asymmetric. And that will turn into a dedicated turning lane, so anyone wanting to turn that way, they can. Again, it could also be an issue because the Park Life Pathers road could also be heavily slowing the traffic down. So why don't we see if we can fix that? Let's just go in for a nice wide, regular American road. We'll lose a couple of pathways and we need to slightly finagle this build over. We'll bring that pathway back in a second. Right, and I think maybe just a touch node controller here as well. Okay, let's just give everyone a square off and then a touch of offset as well. maybe slightly offset blue and green a little bit. Okay, just to widen the junction out, maybe a little bit of red as well. Okay, so that's actually helped it. That's okay. That seems to have worked. It's just these cars chilling out now, waiting to get through. Which hopefully should just happen with time. It has cleared off the marked grid here now though. So yeah, just wants a little bit of lane math bringing into it a slightly wider node so the sims flow a touch faster. It does seem to have cleared it up and it is slowly coming away from here now. So yeah, this wasn't happening before with advanced parking AI on because everyone was going to the car parks and then walking down, but of course the game won't be that efficient with them anymore. So we'll leave it like that, but that does seem to have cleared up a good chunk of it and it should just filter out now. Back to my original point as to why we came over here. Today's campus isn't as packed in as something like the Tux University. It's going to sprawl over different road networks and different sides of the city. So that was my point I was trying to make before we got stuck into a traffic fix. But we should be okay now. Okay, so back to placing in some more assets. Let's go and find one that we haven't used yet. Such as the gymnasium would also be welcome down this end as well. I think we've used all the big ones here, right? We have a bookstore in the campus itself here, but I think we'll also have on this side. And again, we can leave just little spaces here now and during the detail time, let's bring through little pathways just to create walkable alley spaces between our main assets. That's always nice, right, to see people moving in and out of the tighter building spaces. And hopefully we'll see one coming through here as well. What I would actually like to do with this node is come in with a bit of node controller and insert a crossing here. Just so it encourages the AI to actually take this pathway again, because I would like to see them walking directly under the School of Engineering. I think that would be quite nice to see people coming from that tunnel, wouldn't it? So we'll hopefully encourage that. Oh yes, there you go. I wonder if we can get a little first-person tour of the Buccaneer. No, the campus people just don't like first-person tours. First time I'm noticing that. Well, once someone walks through it, we'll take a first-person tour. Eventually, hopefully. So I want to have a look at some residential stuff in a minute with some dormitories and some more suburban patterns. But I also want to address what's happening out front of the station here. So let's use a couple of campus fountains, I think. We can get on in here. Yes, we can, although his tileage is going to bleed onto the main pavement. So let's adjust that. And then we can also grab the nodes of the road. This can afford to be moved up ever so slightly up towards the station, which will give us that little bit of extra breathing room. There we go. And then we'll place this one in over here as well. So that'll give us a nice bit of fountain frontage outside of the metro station. And again, perhaps a little nuance of node controller where we can maybe hopefully turn this one into a crossing here as well. And then just line that up with the front of the metro. There we go. And then again, perhaps a little pathway through the middle of these now. Will help detail our little space here, won't it? Okay, let's actually make sure that we snap into a grid though. That would be tremendously helpful. There we go. And maybe even actually version with decorations, and then we can just change this out for one of our arms. Okay, it doesn't make that much of a difference. Really, does it? But I think that's okay. We've also got to respect the fact that we are actually on the back end of the Delta Center here, and which of course has very large important frontages on this side of the city. I think it's obviously not quite as grandiose, but it still respects the larger asset, doesn't it? And I think perhaps just a little bit of zonable inner city commercial would be welcome within these spaces also. So we'll just allow those to grow up. And if we don't like anything, we can refine it during our detailing time-lapse with Poppable Rico. So I'm going to time-lapse up a little suburban road network expansion, very much like we've done many times for the mile grid. Just a nice little road frame and things that we've prepared during our streams, just so we can hold some low-density suburbia in and around the campus. And then I want to see what we can do with some dormitories up against the metro line, which should be quite fun. Can we get a little first-person tour now? See how we're feeling about the campus. that's already a really nice approach, isn't it? We've got some nice open grassy spaces within the campus itself. Some slightly more desirable housing. And we can just see our orientations coming into effect here now, can't we? Driving past the library. The stairs on the study hall working really nicely too. There we go. He's arrived at the School of Engineering. Oh, there we go. Is he going to take the pathway? Come on, Todd Harris, don't let us down now. Yes, there we go. Yes. Oh, that's so nice, isn't it? What a wonderful mod anarchy is, everyone. Yeah, we can actually even bring another pathway from this side through that one if we want. I didn't even notice that space there. And that actually ties perfectly in with the other node. I can't refuse that. I'm going to have to do that, I'm afraid. Yes, please, everyone. Let's just maybe take the bend out of that a touch. Oh, yes, that's using up a lot of nodes. I could also bring it through here as well. But we've also lost a lot of road network today, so the nodes have sort of been moved from one pot to another. It's not like we're using too many. But I can appreciate that, right? We'll go for that one. Fantastic. So there's a little bit of garbage collection issues over here. We could probably do with a recycling centre, actually. Probably is need for one. Yeah, there's garbage issues over in this part of the city. You will be a building spawn point issue though, won't you? Yes, you will. Let's move you closer to the road in that case then. That should hopefully help, and I think the Delta Centre is just permanently... It's not quite road connected, is it? Where is your spawn point? You are here. Let's rotate you forward a touch just towards the road. That might encourage a garbage collection to come through this way. Okay. Cool. So, oh, that's perfect. That's absolutely ideal. Very nice, happy with that. Oh, and also that same thing over here as well. Yes, please. Yeah, so let's time-lapse up a little road network, and then we'll be right back. To name this suburb after another one of our wonderful Patreon subscribers, the Bad Wolf Fields. Thank you so much for your support, Bad Wolf. Really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoy this little suburb named after yourself. So we're going to give this a theme. We're going to enable theme management. We're going to give this our rural US res pack, which is basically all of the University City content creator assets. And I'm very happy for this to just be bulk zoned. All of the different shapes and sizes that spawn within these fields, or within this theme. More than acceptable, so not too worried about specific zoning here. Might just want to lose a couple of the one deep spaces here and there, but otherwise this is fine to grow. So we've also brought out the Art Deco pattern here, and I've also prepared a pathway that hugs the metro line. Indeed, I probably want to do a touch of move it here just to bring in these shapes a little bit closer toward the metro line itself. At least just change up a couple of the curvatures here and there. Okay, of course we can refine this later on during our detailing if needed. Otherwise, I think we should be okay, alright? So we can have that there. And then I'd like to bring in a few of the dorms from the campus into this space. Again, we'll paint out another little batch of our campus district. Okay, it's going to be a really high land value area this as well once all the parks are in. Right, so I'd like to have couple of dorms that are sat facing metro line. That's going to be quite a nice introduction into the campus, isn't it? Especially once we get the metro flowing past. Right, get some more repeatable palm patterns on this side too and really flank the metro with some trees and pathways. That's going to be quite special for everyone involved, isn't it? Not sure why the Art Decos have struck me so much this episode, but they are very much what I'm looking for. And then just positioning as we come to a corner. That's going to be grand, okay? So that's going to surround this little forecourt here. So we could throw in a park life asset, and indeed they work absolutely fine here. We could do this one, but there's also some nice opportunities to use some of the stuff from the campus stuff, like outdoor study halls and stuff. Right, so we can place this one here. I don't actually like this, so we're going to change the alders on it for, of course, some kind of palm. I think the content creator one should do a job, shouldn't they? Yeah, I'm going to be happy with that, I think. And then, indeed, we can actually just continue to surround it now with further park assets, if we like. Okay, maybe bring one of these in. Bring it off of the road. Perhaps something a little bulkier. Maybe a couple of basketball courts in here too. Don't think I'd totally be against that. I think what I can actually see an opportunity for is perhaps another little parking lot road. Indeed, these ones, these 60-meter poorly maintained, the ones that are one-sided. So a big shout out to the live stream people. You guys let me know that the darker side of the road here is actually the side that they drive on. And that appears from left to right, so let's make sure we maintain that orientation. I'd like to bring this out, ideally from about here. That's going to be good for me. And then we'll also bring it down this side as well. So we can have a little bit of a parking area within the sort of residential district. We'll double up our basketball courts again. Surface painted to be had in these spaces. And then we can use the angled parkings, if indeed we can find them. It's not these ones, is it? It's the other ones that I want. Yes, these ones. So let's do a couple little batches of these. Again, we'll probably have to be a little bit more precise with the final few. Alright, and then maybe one more over this side as well. Cool. That'll give us some parking, and again, surface painter can be had within the middle, wherever we want it. Perhaps some tables out here as well. Maybe a little sort of ice cream truck. Let's see what we can do with some of the vanilla detailing assets. Let's go for the ice cream van. Let's maybe place one on the corner here. And then maybe a couple little sort of sand pits for smaller children that live nearby. And then perhaps just a couple of little tables, alright? Nothing massively complicated here, nothing overly landscaped. Maybe with a little bin. We'll probably need a couple of lights through this area as well, I imagine. Pretty dark at night time. And then perhaps a little sign over here as well that starts directing people around campus to, you know, the track and field stadium or to the actual main bit itself. Different ideas can be had, of course. So I think with Anarchy, we should actually be able to draw out from these pathways, right? Because this isn't actually an extendable asset on its own. The outdoor study hall. I do find them a bit awkward sometimes to use these study hall or outdoor study areas even. They are a little bit sketchy. But we'll do that. We'll leave it there for right now, see if anyone uses it at least. So I think that's quite a nice way to fill the outdoor space opposite the sort of Art Deco district. And then now our university city houses are starting to grow up as well, which should look really nice within the foreground of the campus. And indeed the main downtown itself as this grows up. So we've now got some more preset residential frames to expand the population as and when we need it. For which we are coming up to actually nearly 73,000 people in Ilos now. And there is still the Main Street residential and the Lake Havasu build to come. So we could well be looking at well over 100,000 people in Ilos come the end. Quite exciting, isn't it? Okay, and I think with these spaces here, what we'll do is just some sort of like generic flowing parkland between the suburb. Get some pathways, maybe actually turn them into a park area, I guess we'll see. With some pathways, some assets and whatnot, and lots of detailing for desert vibes and whatnot. All the usual stuff. Alright, and I think we can possibly even squeeze in perhaps some more dormitory patterns over this side if we dare. I don't think I'm totally averse to it, right? So you think it's a pattern that we're all enjoying, I think. We should just not be back encroaching. I probably need to bob off the larger bushes, but we'll worry about that during the detail time lapse. Okay, and I also want to upgrade all of the trees on these little local collector roads into palms, of course. It really hammers home the Ilos vibe usually, doesn't it? Just use a little bit of network multi-tool as well to connect these in. Right, same thing over here as well. Let's get them in. So we can also do some fun stuff with node controller. When we come to a big network like this, let's offset our master. Okay, and that actually should probably just be enough. Yeah, gives the metro a little bit more breathing room, doesn't it, as it comes across the junction. Allows everyone to breathe a little bit more. I think breathing room is quite underrated in Cities Skylines. It really makes a difference to the build, you know. Cool. So we'll zone these guys up. They will only be zoned up until a certain point though, probably till there. We'll leave this corner empty. The power sink will eventually jump through from the rest of the city, of course, once they grow up there, so we won't have to worry about these guys not having power. But that should be okay. What we'd like to do here as well is see if we can introduce perhaps some kind of smaller track and field vibe, because we do have a track and field park asset from the workshop, of course, which is actually a football stadium on its name. I think it does have football fields in, so it's fine. It's almost like it's a smaller sort of like practice area for the track and field people. I think what I'm also on board with is again the introduction of another smaller 16-meter parking lot road to perhaps run straight through the area. All right, and again we can do some more sort of angled car parking here if we like. Let's make sure that we keep drawing left to right, which should give us the correct configuration for those angled car parking spaces. Okay, yeah, so we'll have them here. That one's a little bit too long. We'll have to amend the snap for that. We'll also have some further in this space. And then again, over this way as well. So of course I realise that we've turned off advanced parking AI, but that's not going to stop me from actually placing car parks, especially when we're taking inspiration from a city like Phoenix, which is so car park heavy, alright? So we'll have that in there. I think I'm mostly happy with that. And you know, let's not forget that we are playing Cities Skylines. People that are living around here are going to need services like a medical clinic. We're also going to need a firehouse as well. Let's drop that one in on the corner. I think we'll actually go for one of our workshop ones. Let's maybe go for the volunteer fire station. It's a little bit more appropriate, isn't it? Okay, also some campus services. I'm happy with this. And then in the world of park assets, actually, I'm thinking we're going to include perhaps a bit more downtown multi-story car parking, if indeed I can find the asset that I want. Now, where did I place it? That is the important question. Here we go. This is the one that we're after, one that we used in the condos. So yeah, I would like a little bit of multi-story nearby. Okay, maybe we can double this up next to the track and field stadium. We'll give them a slight merging together. I think that should fill out that space quite nicely, shouldn't it? Looks like there's a match day getting ready to happen, so hopefully this will be a win for the team. We'll also have a quick sip of the old Fanta as well here today. It's absolutely steaming in the UK at the minute, and Fanta Lemon is going down an absolute treat. Not that the episode is sponsored by Fanta or anything, but you know, if anyone from Fanta is actually watching, do reach out. I'd be happy to discuss a partnership. So let's see how far we can bring this off before becoming disconnected. We can pretty much centralize it within this space, actually. Yeah, I'm going to be happy with that. So that's going to give us some nice tightly knit car parking in amongst sort of larger, more impressive stadium assets, right? And I think I'm going to be happy with that for the most part, I think. Okay, but it's coming together now, isn't it? You know, we're seeing this sort of sprawling open facility starting to develop from multiple angles now. However, guys, this does feel like a wonderful place for a detailing time-lapse. We have a bunch of work to do, including placing all the car parking spaces within the main sort of rotunda car park in and around the School of Tourism and Travel. Service paint the interior and bring in some repeated palm patterns along the road. Allow some of this open green space to remain as well. I do just want some, you know, open green fields. Indeed, lots of prop detailing in and around these sort of student services, including tables, a little bit of tilage as well. Some bins and general sort of come to life vibes for the eatery areas. Lots of the desert overgrowth that we've lost from the area. Bring it back in and around the metro line to help frame it alongside some more zonings and just slowly allow this suburban network frame to fill up, which we're now seeing at the foot of the downtown. It's sort of coming together, isn't it? Especially with the trains going past here too now. With the intercities coming by, that's going to be quite nice for them as well. A little bit of chain link fencing along here perhaps. As always, a favourite. And then it did some more sort of residential detailing. pathway is also probably going to bring a path connection over from this road to this side, have a little elevated bridge, which should give us some nice angles for people wanting to cross over from each side of the road rather than having to walk all the way around. And then also sort out any inconsistencies that have arisen from our move it work to hold the dorms. Also a little bit more bob work here and there as well. I just realised this dorm is backwards though, so I'll change that. Yeah, probably bob off some of the bushes like here where it's just spilling onto the road a little bit too much. And then other little bits and pieces, planters, props, trees, bring in the palms around here as well. Again, I think we've continued to respect the very grand crawling height that develops out of the west side, and it is nice to actually have something on the west side of downtown Ilos now, because we've done sort of the north waterfront, the eastern governor's office and suburb, the southern park and suburb, and now we have the campus in here as well. So I'm just tremendously happy with how Ilos' downtown is growing. And it's not too far off done now, to be fair, before we sort of head up Main Street, which will be the next development. I actually would like your guys' opinion. I was trying to have a look at this during the planning for this episode before I eventually decided on the university for today. Would you guys like to see another main road network frame episode for Main Street? Very much like we did with the Margrid, you know, we set up some initial road network frames and then all of the main arterial systems. We did the downtown road network frame. I'm thinking of doing another road network frame episode for Main Street, which will be tying in this main tram road here into the Margrid arterials and also preparing road networks to flow into Lake Havasu. So let me know if you guys want that. If not, we'll carry on expanding each of the main 100 by 100 units in the Margrid frame. If not, we'll carry on expanding out each block of the Margrid as we move up Main Street. Otherwise, we'll do road network frame and then subsequent builds. So just let me know what you would prefer, because I'm kind of indecisive on that one. But anyway, that is enough rambling. Let's detail the Jennifer Cox School of Excellence in West Downtown Ilos, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, so let's have a detailing review, shall we? We have brought through a little kind of staggered roadie pattern through the middle of the campus mall alongside a little repeatable palm pattern that flows through the spaces that don't have the roadies in them, so this turned out quite nicely. We've added in some car parking into the rotunda car park that sits around the School of Tourism and Travel and used some of the different shaped disabled parkings here as well. And because we're on the curve with parking lot roads, there is a touch of overlap with the spaces, but you can't tell from most angles. It does sort of serve its main purpose. I've also totally restructured the main arterial system through the area because this is actually a view that we need to respect. This is the main road that flows all the way through the downtown and basically hooks in with the mile grid. So we had to keep this one flowing, and then we've just allowed this one here to come straight in with a little bit of node controller and simple intersection marking tool work. Again, looking at inspirations and markings from Phoenix. We've continued to wrap the metro into kind of Greenbelt Parkland and again done some more node control pathways. And I really like this little bit of wall that comes out now from the sort of bridge. I think that's quite nice. Nice little touch onto the pathway. We have carried on the little sort of commercial part detailing, switched the skate park around, lots of service paint and some more benches, indeed outside of a bus stop now, which is also serving the suburb too, alongside some specifically chosen commercial assets with some more car parking. Alongside the track and field stadiums, we have also brought in some chain link fencing and some more tree patterns, and also thrown in a fountain alongside some more specifically chosen commercial assets to sit within these spaces as well. We've pieced together some office assets, including this one, which I'm a huge fan of. It's just two vanilla offices stuck back to back, but it works really nicely as sort of a larger office building. And then also finagled some green city shapes onto the side of the media lab, and then created a little sort of tourism or commercial front here. Maybe just some, maybe like a local sports bar for the track and field stadiums, perhaps. Whatever justification you want for it. And again, some walkable spaces with some classic inner city detailing taking place within these spaces over here. With, again, some more specifically chosen commercials to line the main street where the main building currently sits. And of course, we will continue to envelop and blend in the main building as this area of the suburb grows out. And what I'm thinking of doing here, actually, and just while I was kind of discussing this, is bringing everything down to the level of the rail and then doing kind of like a almost country style kind of interchange, one that feeds off into the city, also into the waterfront, into the highway, and eventually down into the airport as well. And we can get some nice layers here, get some big rocks around it, lots of overgrowth, and just have it sat a layer below everything else, which I think would be quite nice. So hopefully you're all looking forward to that when we get around to it. Elsewhere, the University City Creator Pack suburb has continued to grow out around the campus, and it's given us a really kind of nice university suburb now, hasn't it? It's really kind of got a nice surround to it. We've got a good view over to the downtown here as well. And it's nice to see some activity in this part of the city, of course. And I think I'm really happy with the kind of focus on the school and tourism and travel. I did have a look at putting some props through this space here, but I really wanted it to be quite open and almost just let the eye draw straight to the building and have plenty of sort of open green space within the campus area. And of course, we carried on redesigning our repeated Art Deco patterns here. Lots of kind of fancy nearby to the campus housing. And I like the way that this campus sits. It's not kind of a typical campus in the fact that it's boxed in like Tucson University is over this side, and it's very much a dedicated campus area. This one kind of flows a little bit, and a lot of it sits on the road network. And what we're seeing now, as we look down Main Street into downtown almost, we're seeing a very heavily detailed main road with all these really important looking uniques placed along it. We can get another sense of this a little bit further down here too. So this is the point of all our orientations and all our specific placements and specific choices and what assets are allowed to be part of the main street here. And now we can see it paying off. I hope you all agree on that. Alright? I'm really a huge fan of the way that the main street is developing in the city now. And just starts looking nice and busy, isn't it? Which is exactly what we want for this sort of Phoenix style American downtown. Further on in the campus, we've also fused in an auditorium into the back of the gym and just made sure that they're all nicely aligned, and then also dropped in a statue which has been bobbed to remove all of the trees, of course, and then duplicated a vanilla office asset just to create a little bit of maybe like this is like an administration office that's just on campus, right? No, whatever justification you need, you can find. And then again, just some nice simple pathways that are keeping people connected in and around, and of course people can actually enter these metro stations from this side as well, which is nice. So plenty more public transport convergence. However guys, that is going to do it for today. Well, let's thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares below really do help me out. And even as much if you haven't enjoyed it, then please feel free to leave me a dislike as well. Really happy with this campus and how it sits along the main kind of arterial downtown road frame. It's really fitted in quite nicely, and there's some nice new designs here as well, which have been made possible because of the mods. And I really enjoyed building 3 modded campuses in Ilos now. Of course, we'll continue to revisit and tweak these areas during our live streams, so please do come and say hello as and when they happen. If you would like to find out when they are, then please get into our Discord and also follow me on Twitter. We always post the links out several hours before, if not a day before, when they happen. Otherwise, please do hang around for some cinematics and check out the view to the nighttime skyline from the west side for the first time, which should be quite nice, of course, with the stadium complex in the foreground as well. It should be quite special, I'm sure. Otherwise, I will shut up and I will leave it there. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.